I confirmed it when you went in deep and drained my, the nun said to Mountain Man. The morning sun broke through the tall pine trees, casting long shadows on the narrow trail. The mountain air was crisp and clean, carrying the scent of wet soil and wild flowers. Michael, known by locals as the Mountain Man, walked carefully along the path. His boots crunched on the dry leaves and his breath rose in small clouds. He had spent many years living in the high hills, far from towns and cities. People often said he was strange, but he knew the forest better than anyone. He knew every rock, every hidden stream, every twist in the paths that led deep into the mountains. This morning, though, something felt different. Michael could not explain it, but there was tension in the air. Something was waiting for him. It was unusual for anyone to climb the mountains this early, especially someone like Sister Mary. She was a nun from the small monastery at the edge of the valley. The monastery was old, built of gray stone and surrounded by tall walls, with a garden that bloomed brightly in spring. Sister Mary had lived there for more than 10 years, and she rarely left. The villagers often spoke of her as strict but kind. Michael had met her once before, years ago. When he had gone down to the village for supplies, he remembered her calm voice, her careful words, and her intense eyes that seemed to look straight through a person. Now, Michael wondered why she would come all the way up here. The monastery was far from the mountain paths, and Sister Mary was not someone to take risks. He walked faster, scanning the trees around him. The wind whistled through the pines, and the shadows of the branches moved like fingers over the ground. He reached a small clearing, one of his favorite spots. From here, he could see the mountains stretching in every direction, high peaks rising against the blue sky. He paused, catching his breath and listening. The sound of movement reached his ears, a soft, careful step. He turned, and there she was, Sister Mary, in her long gray robe, stepping carefully through the underbrush. Her eyes were wide, and her hands were folded in front of her. "Michael," she said, her voice calm but serious, "I need your help." Michael frowned. He had not expected these words. "Sister Mary," he said, "here in the mountains? What brings you here?" She stepped closer, careful not to trip over the roots and stones. "It is urgent," she said. "Something has happened, and I cannot go to the village. I need someone who knows these mountains." Michael studied her face. There was no fear, no panic, just determination. That was unusual for anyone, especially a nun. "All right," he said slowly. "Tell me everything." Sister Mary looked around, as if afraid someone might be listening. She spoke in a low voice. "I was delivering supplies to the small community at the edge of the forest," she began. "It is a place no one visits often. On my way, I found signs of trouble, strange footprints, some broken branches, and a feeling that something was being hidden from the rest of us. I am not sure what it is, but I know it is serious. I need to find out before it grows worse." Michael nodded. He had seen many things in his life: animals, storms, lost travelers, but people hiding secrets in the forest was something new. "Show me where," he said. Sister Mary led the way through the trees. Michael followed, stepping carefully over roots and rocks. The sun climbed higher, and the forest grew warmer. Birds chirped above, but their songs did not comfort him. There was tension in the air. Michael noticed how carefully Sister Mary moved, how she seemed to know where she was going even in unfamiliar terrain. He realized she was not afraid of the mountains themselves. She was afraid of what might be hidden inside them. They reached a small clearing surrounded by tall trees. In the center was a large flat rock, and around it were marks in the dirt. Michael knelt, examining the ground closely. He frowned. The marks were not recent, but they were unusual. "Someone has been here," he said slowly. "Not long ago, but they moved quickly." They knew the area. Sister Mary looked down at the ground, her hands clenched. "Yes," she said. "I saw it when I arrived. It made me uneasy. I need to confirm something. I need to know what they took and why." He had lived alone in the mountains for years. He had rarely met anyone who spoke with such urgency and calm at the same time. There was a strength in her that surprised him. "All right," he said. "We will find out. But we need to be careful. Whoever did this may still be nearby." Sister Mary nodded. "I trust you," she said. Michael felt a strange feeling inside. Trust was not something he gave easily. People in the villages often judged him without knowing him. They whispered about the mountain man who lived alone, who spoke to no one, who seemed more part of the forest than part of the world. But here was someone who had come to him, seeking help, believing he could find answers. It was unusual, and it made him determined to help. They moved deeper into the forest, following a narrow path that twisted between rocks and trees. The further they went, the quieter it became. The usual sounds of the forest, birds, insects, the rustle of small animals, seemed to fade. Michael felt the tension in the air grow heavier. Sister Mary walked carefully beside him, keeping her eyes open for any sign of danger. After a while, they reached a small stream, its clear water bubbling over smooth stones. Michael knelt, testing the water with his hand. "This area is not often visited," he said. "The trail is old, but some parts are fresh. Whoever came here was careful, but they left signs. We need to follow them." Sister Mary crouched beside him. "I saw it," she whispered. "They moved something from the monastery's storage, and it is hidden here. I need to find it before anyone else notices. It could be dangerous in the wrong hands." Michael looked at her, surprised. The situation was serious, he realized. It was not just a small theft or a prank, but something important had been taken and hidden. "We need a plan," he said. "We cannot rush blindly. The forest is easy to get lost in, and someone may still be watching." Sister Mary nodded, her face set in determination. "I trust your judgment, Michael. You know these mountains better than anyone. You can guide me safely, and we can uncover the truth." For years he had lived alone, taking care of himself, relying on no one. But now, with Sister Mary beside him, he realized that sometimes helping others was more important than staying isolated. He felt a spark of purpose, and it gave him energy he had not felt in a long time. They spent the next hour moving carefully through the forest. Michael pointed out hidden paths, old animal trails, and safe spots to rest. Sister Mary followed, learning quickly, her eyes sharp and alert. There was a quiet understanding between them, an unspoken bond forming as they worked together. Finally, they reached a narrow valley, surrounded by tall cliffs. The valley was shaded, cool, and quiet. Michael knelt, examining the ground again. "The signs lead here," he said. "Something is hidden in this valley. Someone moved it carefully, but they could not hide it completely. We will find it, but we must proceed with caution." Sister Mary looked at the valley, then back at Michael. "I confirm it," she said softly, her voice steady. "When we go in deep, we will find the answer, and we must be ready for whatever comes." Michael nodded. The moment felt heavy with tension. He had spent years in these mountains, but nothing had ever felt like this. There was danger, yes, but also a chance to uncover a truth that could change things for the better. Together, they began their careful descent into the valley, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Michael could see the determination in Sister Mary's eyes, and he knew that whatever waited for them, they would face it together. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for the story to unfold. The valley was quiet, almost too quiet. Michael and Sister Mary moved slowly, stepping over rocks and fallen branches. The sunlight barely reached the floor of the valley, making it feel cooler and darker than the forest above. Michael's eyes scanned every detail: the shape of the rocks, the marks in the soil, the way the grass bent under unseen weight. Years in the mountains had taught him that even the smallest clue could reveal a hidden truth. Sister Mary followed closely, her hands brushing against the leaves as she walked. She had always been calm, but now her brow was slightly furrowed. She trusted Michael, but the situation was growing more serious by the minute. The valley seemed untouched, yet there was a feeling, a sense, that someone had been there recently. Michael stopped suddenly, crouching near a pile of stones. "Look here," he whispered. The stones had been moved, not naturally, not by animals. Someone had lifted them carefully and then replaced them almost perfectly, leaving only a small gap. Sister Mary knelt beside him, peering at the gap. "What does it mean?" she asked. "It means someone wanted to hide something," Michael said. "But they didn't do it perfectly. Whoever did this was careful, but not clever enough to erase every sign." Michael reached into the small gap and pulled out a wooden box, worn but sturdy. It was locked with a simple latch, but the wood had scratches and marks that told Michael it had been carried roughly through the forest. Sister Mary's eyes widened. "That must be it," she said softly. "That is what I sensed was taken from the community." Michael set the box on a flat rock and examined it. He could see that it had been made to hold something small but valuable. The scratches on the wood told a story of movement, of travel through difficult terrain, and possibly of fear. He looked at Sister Mary. "We need to open it carefully," he said. "We don't know what is inside, and we don't know if it is fragile." Sister Mary nodded. She had faith in Michael's judgment. He gently lifted the latch, and the box creaked open. Inside were several papers folded neatly, and a small bundle tied with string. Michael lifted the bundle first. It was light, but the careful wrapping told him it was important. Sister Mary took the bundle from him. "These are records," she said. She untied the string and carefully unfolded the papers. They were old, but in good condition, filled with handwriting that looked precise and careful. As she read through them, her eyes widened with recognition. "These are important documents," she said. "They belong to the community. They record decisions, events, and agreements that have been kept for generations." Michael listened carefully. He had never understood the importance of written records. In his life in the mountains, most knowledge was remembered, passed from one person to another. But he could see the value of these papers. "So someone stole them," he said, "and hid them here. But why? And who?" Sister Mary shook her head. "I do not know yet, but someone wanted to remove them from the community. They wanted to control information, perhaps, or hide the truth. We need to find out who." Michael glanced around the valley. The silence made him uneasy. He had spent years learning to read the forest, to understand the signs left behind. "We are not alone," he said. "I feel it. Someone is watching us." Sister Mary's face remained calm, but her eyes were sharp. Then we must be careful, she said. We cannot rush. We must think clearly. They moved carefully to a small overhang of rocks that could serve as a lookout. From there, Michael could see the entrance to the valley and the paths that led in from the forest. He studied every detail, noticing broken twigs and flattened grass, small signs that someone had passed recently. Sister Mary glanced over the papers again. These documents must reach the community safely, she said. If they are lost, it will be a great harm. We must protect them at all costs. Michael nodded. We will, he said. But first, we need to understand who took them and why. The two of them stayed in the lookout for some time, watching and listening. Birds chirped occasionally and the wind moved through the trees, but otherwise, the valley remained quiet. Michael could sense the tension building. Whoever had hidden the box might come back, or someone else might have been watching them all along. Finally, Michael stood. We cannot wait forever, he said. We must move deeper into the forest. There may be more signs, more clues. Sister Mary gathered the papers and the bundle carefully. God. She trusted Michael to lead the way. They descended from the lookout and continued along a narrow path that wound deeper into the trees. The forest seemed to close around them, the branches and vines forming a natural wall that made it difficult to see far ahead. As they walked, Michael spoke quietly. The person who hid the box was familiar with the forest, but not as familiar as me. They knew enough to avoid the main paths, but they left signs they could not hide. We can follow them. Sister Mary listened closely. We must be careful, she said. If they return while we are following, we could be in danger. Michael nodded. He had learned long ago that the mountains could be as dangerous as any person. Animals, storms, and the terrain itself could all cause harm, but the thought of someone hiding important documents made him even more alert. He kept his eyes scanning the forest, his ears tuned to every sound. After a while, they reached a small stream, its water moving swiftly over smooth stones. Michael knelt, examining the bank. They crossed here, he said. The prints are faint, but I can see them. They moved quickly and carefully. Then we must follow carefully, she said. We must not leave a trace ourselves, and we must not hurry. Michael led the way along the stream, moving slowly and deliberately. The forest grew denser and the path became more difficult. Branches scratched at their clothing, and the ground became uneven. But Michael knew the forest well. He guided Sister Mary safely over slippery stones and past hidden roots. As they moved, Sister Mary spoke softly. Michael, I want to understand something, she said. When you live in the mountains for so long, how do you trust anyone? Michael thought for a moment. Trust is earned, he said. I do not give it easily, but I know when someone is honest. I can feel it in their actions, in the way they move, in the way they speak. And you? You came here seeking the truth, not for yourself, but for others. That earns my trust. Sister Mary smiled faintly. I am glad, she said, because we must trust each other if we are to succeed. The forest seemed to grow darker as the sun moved behind the peaks. Shadows stretched across the path, and the wind carried the scent of wet soil and pine needles. Michael felt a sense of anticipation building. They were getting closer to the source of the mystery, and he could feel it in every step. Finally, they reached a small clearing. In the center was a large tree with roots spreading across the ground like giant fingers. Michael stopped, crouching to examine the area. Here, he whispered. This is where they stopped. Something was hidden here, or perhaps Someone waited here, her eyes scanning the ground, her eyes scanning the ground. Then we must be very careful, she said. We do not know who it is or what they might do if they see us. Michael nodded. He could feel the tension in the air, a sense that the forest itself was holding its breath. The next steps would be critical. One mistake, and the mystery could be lost forever. Or worse, the documents could fall into the wrong hands. He glanced at Sister Mary. Her face was calm, but he could see her determination. She was ready to face whatever came next. Michael felt a strange sense of partnership, a bond formed in the quiet tension of the forest. They were two people from very different worlds, united by a single purpose: to uncover the truth and protect what was important. With a deep breath, Michael stood. "Let's go," he said. "The answers are close. We must move carefully, but we cannot wait any longer." Sister Mary nodded, holding the papers and bundle tightly. Together they stepped into the clearing, ready to confront whatever waited in the depths of the forest. The clearing was quiet, but the tension was thick. Michael and Sister Mary stepped carefully, their boots barely making a sound on the forest floor. Every leaf, every branch, every small movement seemed amplified. Michael could feel it in the air. Someone had been here recently, and the signs were subtle but clear to his trained eyes. Sister Mary held the bundle of papers close to her chest, as if its very weight carried the importance of her mission. "Michael," she said softly, "do you feel it too? Something is just ahead." Michael nodded. "Yes," he whispered. "The signs lead to a small, hidden area. Whoever left these documents wanted to keep them secret, but they were not careful enough to hide everything. We are getting close." He led the way through the clearing toward a thick patch of underbrush. The branches were heavy with dew, and the air smelled of wet earth. Michael pushed aside some branches, revealing a small, narrow path that led deeper into the forest. The path was almost invisible, worn only by the passage of someone who knew the forest well. Sister Mary followed closely, moving with quiet determination. She had grown used to walking in difficult terrain, but the forest tested every step. Michael noticed her careful movements and knew she was paying attention to everything. Her sharp eyes missed nothing: the broken twigs, the bent leaves, the faint footprints on soft ground. After a few minutes, the path opened into a small, almost hidden grove. A single large tree stood in the center, its thick roots spreading across the ground. Around it were marks in the dirt, footprints, small scuffs, and signs that something had been moved recently. Michael knelt to examine them. "These footprints," he said, pointing to the marks, "they are fresh. Whoever was here moved carefully but quickly. They may still be nearby." Sister Mary looked around, her voice calm but serious. "Then we must be careful. We do not know if they are watching us or if they will return." Michael nodded. He could sense the forest holding its breath, as if waiting. He examined the base of the large tree. Among the roots he noticed a small hollow, almost hidden from view. "Here," he whispered. "This is where they hid something. They could not cover it completely, but they tried." Sister Mary knelt beside him, her hands steady. She reached into the hollow and pulled out a small, weathered box. Its surface was rough, and the edges were worn, but it was solid. Michael studied it. "This is older than the other box," he said. "Someone hid it a long time ago and then returned for it later. The marks outside show that." Inside were more papers, tied in bundles, and a small object wrapped in cloth. She lifted it gently and unfolded the papers. Her eyes widened as she read them. "These are even older records," she said. They tell stories of the community, its beginnings, and important decisions made over decades. If these were lost, it would be a great loss for everyone. Michael looked at her and nodded. We must keep them safe, he said. But now we need to know who took them and why. Someone went through great effort to hide these records. They must have thought it was important. Sister Mary examined the object wrapped in cloth. She unwrapped it carefully, revealing a small carved wooden token. It looked simple, but the careful carving showed it had meaning. This token, she said, is a symbol of leadership in the community. Whoever has it has influence or wants to gain control. Then, this is more than just a simple theft. Someone wanted to control the past to change the future. They want power, or at least to hide the truth. Ah, Sister Mary nodded. We must act quickly. The longer these records remain hidden, the greater the risk that they may be lost again or fall into the wrong hands. Michael studied the grove around them. He could see small signs. A broken branch here, a faint footprint there. We are not alone, he said quietly. Someone was here recently, and they may still be nearby. Sister Mary's hands tightened around the bundle. Then we need to move carefully, she said. We must follow the path, but avoid leaving traces ourselves. If we rush, we may alert them. Michael led the way along a narrow, twisting path that climbed up a rocky slope. The climb was slow, the stones uneven, and the wind grew stronger as they ascended. Michael moved with sure steps, pointing out loose rocks and weak spots where they could slip. Sister Mary followed closely, her focus sharp. After some time, they reached a small plateau. From here they could see the forest stretching below and the distant mountains rising above. Michael pointed to a cluster of trees far ahead. See that? He whispered. That is where the last signs lead. Someone waited there, perhaps watching the valley. If we are careful, we can find them without being seen. Sister Mary looked at the distant trees, then back at the papers in her hands. We must succeed, she said quietly. The community depends on these records. If they are lost again, no one will know the truth. Michael felt a growing sense of responsibility. He had spent years alone, but now he realized that helping others could give meaning to life. With Sister Mary beside him, he felt a partnership, a shared purpose that strengthened his resolve. They moved carefully along the plateau, keeping low to avoid being seen. Michael pointed out hidden paths, using his knowledge of the mountains to guide them safely. Sister Mary followed silently, her eyes alert to every detail. The forest seemed to hold its breath, the wind carrying a quiet warning. Finally, they reached the edge of the distant tree cluster. Michael signaled Sister Mary to stop. We must observe first, he said. See if anyone is there. They crouched behind a large boulder hidden from view. Through the trees, Michael could see faint movement, someone moving carefully, perhaps searching for something. Sister Mary held the papers close and watched silently. They are looking for the same thing we are, Michael whispered. They may have discovered the first box, and now they want the second one. Sister Mary nodded. Then we must be ready. We cannot let them take these records. The community's history depends on us. Da. He noticed the rhythm, the careful steps, and the way the person paused at certain points. They are cautious, but not experienced in the forest like us, he said. We can anticipate their moves if we stay quiet and move carefully. Sister Mary's face was calm but determined. Then we act together, she said. We cannot fail. Michael gave a small nod. He felt the tension in the air. the anticipation of the moment. They were about to confront the unknown, to uncover the truth hidden in the mountains, and to protect something that mattered deeply. Together they prepared to move forward, ready to face whatever waited in the forest. The valley below seemed distant now, and the challenge ahead felt greater than anything they had faced before. But Michael and Sister Mary shared a quiet strength, a trust that had grown with every step, and with that they began to advance toward the hidden figures, the next step in their journey toward uncovering the truth. The forest seemed to hold its breath as Michael and Sister Mary crouched behind the large boulder. Every movement of the wind, every rustle of the leaves felt amplified. Michael's eyes scanned the trees carefully, noting shadows that shifted slightly, branches that bent in unusual ways, and the faint outline of a figure moving ahead. Sister Mary's hands rested gently on the bundle of papers, her eyes fixed on the figure. "Do you see it?" she whispered. Michael nodded. "Yes. Someone is searching for something. They don't know the forest as we do. They will leave traces, and we can follow them carefully." They waited for several minutes, watching the figure move between the trees. Michael noticed the person pause frequently, looking around as if afraid of being watched. "They are cautious," he said softly, "but they are not careful enough. They will make mistakes, and we will see them." Sister Mary's voice was steady. "Then we must follow silently. Every step matters." Michael led the way, moving low and keeping to the shadows. Sister Mary followed closely, her eyes scanning the ground and the branches above. They moved like ghosts, careful not to disturb anything that might give away their presence. After some time, they reached a small clearing where the figure had stopped. Michael crouched behind a tree and studied the scene. The person had placed a bundle on a flat rock and was examining it carefully. Michael could see the tension in their movements. They were trying to be precise, but the nervous energy was clear. Sister Mary's eyes widened. "They are looking for the same records," she said quietly. "They must have discovered the first box, and now they want the second one." "Yes, but we have the advantage. We know the forest, we know the paths, and we know how to move without being noticed. We can intercept them." He whispered a plan to Sister Mary. "We will move slowly, step by step. I will distract them from one side while you approach carefully from the other. When the moment comes, we act together." And Sister Mary nodded, trusting Michael completely. "Be careful," she whispered. "We must not let them see us until the right moment." Michael took a deep breath and moved along the edge of the clearing, keeping low behind the bushes. The figure did not notice him at first, focused entirely on the bundle on the rock. Michael could see the person's hands trembling slightly as they opened the wrapping. Sister Mary moved in from the opposite side, stepping softly on the moss-covered ground. She held the papers and bundle tightly, ready to protect them if necessary. Michael's plan required timing, and every second felt like an hour as they advanced carefully. Suddenly the figure looked up, sensing movement. Michael froze, his heart pounding. The person's eyes scanned the trees, moving in the direction of the shadows where Michael was hiding. Sister Mary stopped as well, holding her breath. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Then the figure turned back to the bundle, relaxing slightly. Michael saw his opportunity. He moved closer, making a soft sound that drew the figure's attention again. The person looked up, startled, and took a small step back. Sister Mary seized the moment. She stepped forward, speaking firmly but calmly. "Stop," she said. "You are not alone." The figure froze, looking between the two of them. It was a young man, his face showing surprise and nervousness. He held the small bundle in his hands, the same type of records Michael and Sister Mary had found earlier. Michael stepped forward slowly. "We know what you are doing," he said. "Why are you taking these records? What do you hope to achieve?" The young man swallowed hard, his hands trembling. I didn't mean any harm," he said quickly. "I just wanted to understand. I heard stories about the community and its history. I thought these papers would help me learn. I didn't know I would cause trouble." Sister Mary stepped closer, her eyes calm but serious. "These records are important," she said. "They belong to the community, and they must be protected. Taking them without permission is dangerous. It could cause problems for everyone." The young man looked down at the bundle in his hands, realizing the weight of what he had done. "I didn't know," he said softly. "I only wanted to learn the truth. I didn't know it would be wrong." Michael studied him carefully. He could sense honesty in the young man's voice. "You are lucky," he said slowly. "You could have caused real harm. But now you have a choice. Return the records, and we will ensure they are safe. But if you try to take them again, there will be consequences." The young man nodded quickly. "I understand," he said, his face pale but determined. He carefully handed the bundle to Sister Mary, who accepted it gently. Sister Mary examined the papers and bundles. Everything was intact. "Good," she said. "Now we must return these records to the community. They will be safe there." Debble blast out. Michael glanced around the clearing, ensuring no one else was nearby. "The forest can be tricky," he said. "We need to move carefully back to the safe path." The young man followed silently, learning from Michael and Sister Mary how to move quietly through the forest. Michael pointed out safe routes, places to step, and areas to avoid. Sister Mary stayed close, guiding him with calm authority. After some time, they reached the path leading back toward the monastery. The forest seemed lighter now, the tension easing slightly. The young man carried a small bundle of his own, holding it carefully as Michael and Sister Mary led the way. Finally, they reached a small clearing near the edge of the forest. The sunlight streamed through the trees, warming the ground and illuminating the path. Michael paused, looking back at the dense forest behind them. "We did well," he said quietly. "The records are safe and no one was harmed." Sister Mary smiled faintly.
"Yes," she said.
"And the young man has learned an important lesson. Knowledge must be sought carefully, and with respect for others." The young man nodded, his eyes showing gratitude. "Thank you," he said softly. "I will never forget this. I understand now how important it is to respect the past and protect what belongs to the community." Michael looked at Sister Mary, feeling a sense of satisfaction. The journey had been difficult, the forest challenging, but they had succeeded. Trust, patience, and careful observation had won the day. Sister Mary gathered the papers and bundles once more. "We should return to the monastery before it gets dark," she said. "The community will be relieved to see these records safe." Michael nodded. "Let's move," he said. "The forest is easier to navigate now that we know the paths clearly." As they walked, the young man kept pace quietly, listening and learning. Michael pointed out small details, the way the wind moved through the trees, the marks left by animals, and how to read the forest without disturbing it. Sister Mary explained the importance of the records and how they told the history of the community. By the time they reached the edge of the forest, the sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows across the valley. The monastery's walls appeared in the distance, and a sense of relief filled the air. Michael, Sister Mary, and the young man had succeeded in protecting something valuable. something that would ensure the community's history remained intact. As they approached the monastery gates, Michael turned to Sister Mary. "This has been a good day," he said. "We faced the forest, the challenge, and the unknown, and we succeeded." Sister Mary nodded, smiling warmly. "Yes," she said, "and the community will benefit because of it." Trust, patience, and careful attention made the difference. The young man looked between them, a new understanding in his eyes. "I will never forget this," he said again. "I have learned more than I could have imagined." "Remember this feeling," he said. "Respect the past, respect the forest, and respect others. That is the true lesson." The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. The monastery gates opened and they stepped through, carrying the records safely. The journey through the forest had tested them, challenged them, and taught them valuable lessons about trust, patience, and responsibility. And as the doors closed behind them, Michael and Sister Mary knew that the mission was complete. The community's history was safe, and the forest held its secrets once more, quiet, still, and watchful, as it always had been. The sun had nearly set, casting warm orange and gold light across the monastery walls. Michael, Sister Mary, and the young man walked slowly through the gates, carrying the carefully wrapped records. The heavy stone walls and quiet garden seemed peaceful after the tense hours in the forest. Birds were settling for the night, and a cool breeze moved through the courtyard, carrying the scent of flowers and damp earth. Sister Mary guided the young man to a small room inside the monastery. The room was simple, with shelves of books and neatly stacked papers and a window that looked out onto the garden. She placed the bundles of records gently on a table. "These belong here," she said softly. "They will be safe, and they will be studied carefully. The community will benefit from them." The young man knelt briefly and then stood. "I did not know how serious it was," he said. "I only wanted to learn, but now I understand. I will not make the same mistake again." Michael nodded. "It is good that you understand," he said. "Knowledge is important, but it must be handled carefully. Respecting the past means protecting it, not taking it without permission." "Ah." Sister Mary smiled faintly. "You have learned an important lesson today," she said. "And now you can share that understanding with others in the community. It is better to guide them than to act recklessly." The young man looked thoughtful. "Yes," he said, "I will do that. I will tell them about what I learned, about how the records tell the true story of our history. I will help protect it." Michael studied him carefully. The young man seemed sincere. Michael had encountered many people who thought they knew more than they did, or who acted without thinking. But this one had shown humility, willingness to learn, and respect when it mattered most. "Then you will do well," Michael said. "Just remember what you have learned here, and do not forget the forest. It teaches lessons if you are willing to listen."
"Oh." Sister Mary nodded. "Yes," she said.
"And remember that trust is earned. We all need to respect each other's knowledge and experience. That is how a community stays strong." "Ga... ah." The young man bowed slightly. "I understand," he said. "Thank you both for guiding me. I will never forget this day." After ensuring the records were safely stored, Michael stepped outside into the monastery courtyard. The night sky had taken over, and stars twinkled above the mountains. The forest behind him was dark, quiet, and still. Michael could feel the presence of the mountains, steady and watchful, as if they were approving of what had happened. Sister Mary joined him, her hands folded in front of her. "You did well today, Michael," she said. "You guided us through the forest, and you protected what mattered. I am grateful." Michael looked at her and nodded. "We did it together," he said. "I could not have done it alone, and neither could you. Trust and teamwork made the difference." Sister Mary smiled. "Yes," she said. "It is good to see that people can work together, even from different worlds, and achieve something important." Michael gazed at the mountains in the distance. The forest was always a part of him, and now he felt a quiet sense of satisfaction. The journey had been challenging, but the reward was not only the safety of the records, it was the knowledge that he had helped someone learn, and that a part of history would remain safe for the future. The young man came out into the courtyard quietly, carrying a small lantern. "I just wanted to say goodbye," he said softly. "And thank you again. I will make sure the records are safe and respected." Michael nodded. "Do not forget what you have learned," he said. "Respect the past, respect knowledge, and respect the forest. That will guide you in the future."
Sister Mary placed a gentle hand on the young man's shoulder. "And remember, courage is not the absence of fear.
It is moving forward despite it. You showed courage today, and that is important." The young man smiled faintly, understanding the weight of her words. "I will remember," he said, and then he turned and walked toward the path that led back to his village. Michael and Sister Mary watched him go. The silence of the night surrounding them, Michael felt a calmness he had not felt in years. The forest was still behind them, and yet it seemed less like a place of tension and more like a friend. He had faced challenges, uncertainty, and the unknown, and he had emerged stronger. Sister Mary spoke softly. "Michael, do you ever think about why you live here alone in the mountains?" Michael looked at her. "I do," he said slowly. "But today reminded me that even in the mountains we are connected to others. We may live apart, but helping someone and protecting what is important creates a connection stronger than distance." Sister Mary nodded. "Yes," she said, "and that is why the records were important. They tell a story of the community, of people who came before us, and of lessons that must not be forgotten. Today, we protected more than paper. We protected memory, trust, and understanding. I'd never thought of it that way. The forest, the mountains, the records, they were all part of a larger story. And now he had played a role in ensuring that story would continue. The night deepened, and the monastery grew quiet. Michael and Sister Mary stood together for a few moments, watching the stars and listening to the soft sounds of the evening. A small breeze moved through the courtyard, and Michael could smell the pine trees and earth from the nearby forest. Finally, Sister Mary spoke. "It is late. We should rest. Tomorrow, the community will be grateful, and the records will be safe. Our work here is done, for now." Michael nodded. "Yes," he said, "and I will return to the forest tomorrow, but tonight it feels good to stay here a while. We did well." They walked back to the small guest room prepared for Sister Mary and their young companion. Michael watched the stars once more before turning inside. The forest was still there, dark and silent, but it no longer felt threatening. Instead, it felt alive, steady, and protective, like an old friend watching over them. As he lay down to rest, Michael thought about the young man, about the lessons learned, and about the partnership with Sister Mary. Life in the mountains had always been quiet and solitary, but now he realized that even in solitude, connections could be meaningful and transformative. Sister Mary sat quietly for a few moments, looking at the bundles of records. She felt a sense of accomplishment and relief. The journey had tested patience, courage, and trust, and they had succeeded. She knew that the community's history was now preserved, that the lessons of the past would guide the future, and that the young man had learned an invaluable lesson. Morning would bring new challenges, but tonight was a time for reflection and quiet satisfaction. Michael, Sister Mary, and the young man had faced uncertainty, danger, and mystery, and they had come together to protect what mattered most. And as the night deepened, the mountains outside the monastery seemed to hum quietly, the forest breathing softly, knowing that for now the balance had been restored. Michael closed his eyes, feeling a calmness he had not known in a long time. Sister Mary's gentle presence beside him was reassuring, and the forest seemed peaceful. The records were safe, the young man had learned his lesson, and the community's history was secure. The story of the forest, the monastery, and the journey they had taken would remain quietly in the hearts and memories of those who understood its importance. And Michael knew that no matter what came next, he had done something meaningful, something that would matter long after this night.